Thank you.
I'm recording this now,
Yes,
so
thank you.
thanks, Susan.
Thanks, Susan. See, yep. Told her.
Okay, as Pastor stated, she wrote the pastor's report. I wrote the council president's report. And I would just like to say it's been an honor to serve the church in this capacity this past year, but I have to give credit to Vice President Tom McCosick, our secretary Liz Trouton, and Daryl Brandstrand and Brenda Weaver
And Susan.
and Susan,
Don't
of
forget.
course. Hi, Susan. For all of their hard work this past year too. Takes a lot of people. Takes a lot of people to do the work of the church, and I would be very remiss if I didn't say that we've got a lot of good committees, a lot of people that work from worship to working on the building to finance and all of those things that have to be done in order to keep this church moving forward. So anybody have any questions about my report? Okay, thank you. Let's move on to our team reports. Want to start out with Community Life Ministries.
We gotta make it easy. We're gonna have you go this way.
Yeah, come around this way.
Oh, taking the computer out. Oh, okay. Sorry.
No.
There you go, Jim.
I am here on behalf of our social ministry group. I broke into their meetings for the last 2 months because I was asked to do a project for our church.
Okay, got a large name.
Close to your
A
mouth.
little close to your mouth.
And and in doing this, it was to do a CPR training for St. Mark. I know we all think our hearts are golden, but we never know when somebody's gonna drop to the floor. The training is set. It is set for next Saturday at our Centennial Fire Station. Thanks to Centennial Fire for everything they have been doing for us here at St. Mark. I'm sure most of you don't know everything they've been doing. When I took this project, I was always told by my dad and mom, when you say yes to a project, you do it to the end or say no. And maybe this is one I should have said no to. The reason is our AED machine has to be replaced. The expand life on them is from 10 to 15 years, and this one is 13 years old. And it talks. If sometimes when nobody is here, it's talking. Right now, we have the battery out of it, so if someone has to use it, you've got to put the battery back in it to use it. But I'm not a quitter. I have been to our Centennial Fire Department and to another source that can apply for grants. 3 weeks ago, I got a call from Centennial Fire saying, hey, Jim, we found a place that we can apply for a grant for churches for new equipment. They have had to submit it the next day. So pray for Centennial and their grant program, and hopefully we're the top list if they get the grant. It will be replaced. Now, next Saturday, fire station, all of you that have signed up, there's still room for more. I think the social ministry is doing treats. They're all set. Our trainer has been here a couple of times. Centennial has been here several times because our talking machine. But this will all be taken care of. And thanks to anybody that has signed up to take this training, because you don't know how important it is.
Thank you.
And so that's where we stand in social ministry. I want to tell you something about that group. I broke into their group and found out that there is one person that's been on that thing for 20 years. One that has been on for over 10 years. They want new members. They need some new members, some new blood. So I'm giving them a plug. I know that they have the setup to do the parking lot sale this year. They need help to do it. So that is one of the projects they have. They're gonna do the veterans clothes again. Need help. So St. Mark's, step up for that social ministry.
Thank you, Jenny. Any questions for Jenny before she sits down? No, she says she's sitting. Okay, thanks very much. I'd like to next call up our Faith Development Ministries. Is there somebody here to speak for Faith Development?
No, does anybody have
No,
a
just
question?
anyway,
Or does anybody have any questions?
just questions on that section, yeah.
We still have room for openings.
Okay, moving on to outreach ministries. Any questions in that area? Okay, resource ministries.
Yeah, give us, yeah, give them a minute.
Sorry.
Outreach resource.
Yes,
Did you have that in your hand? You want to state to the people that are training next week, there's a parking lot right across from the fire station that you can use.
parking lot across from the fire station that you can use. And the fire station is 1 Fire Barn Road. If anybody doesn't know where that is, talk to Jenny or me afterward. Yeah, Carl Eck parking lot. Thanks, John. Yeah, they don't appreciate it when you park in there if you're not a firefighter. Go ahead.
I wonder if somebody from social ministry could talk about Tanzania. I know that there's been some conversation around what our commitment's going to be, and I've heard a lot of different things. I'm a little unclear. So maybe somebody could clarify?
All the way.
All the way to the microphone.
Oh.
Shine your light.
Shine your light, Anita.
See my light shining?
Mm-hmm.
Tanzania. We sent a letter to our contacts in Tanzania saying we have been contributing to their scholarships for many, many years. None of us can remember exactly how many years. But we did send them a letter saying that we needed to end it within 5 years. Okay. Since that time, and that would put for 23, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. What in process of that, I ended up talking to numerous people here within the congregation, and many of them said, well, we need to keep that going. We need to educate the students in Africa. And people have pledged up to $300 a year for up to 5 years to cover those scholarships. So nothing will be coming out of the actual budget from St. Mark. I don't have the names of everybody here, but you all know who you are, and you are just awesome in your generosity. So with the end date of 5 years in mind, the scholarships are set at who's in the program now. And as students graduate, or they have to drop out of the system for one reason or another,
they won't be replaced. So the people that have already committed to this, and I've got, I think, 14 people, which would cover the scholarships, the 10 scholarships that we've done each year. So and
What about the church commitment to Winnick?
the church commitment to Wind Bay, in my mind, that was continuing for that 5 years, because we can't just drop them. And social ministry will continue to do its fundraising efforts for that, which include the Mardi Gras bake sale, which is coming up. And this year, so the quilters have decided to add some craft items to that. And so whatever is sold with either the bake sale or the craft items will go toward Aringa, the church, to maintain their building and their and improve their sites.
Thank you, Nina.
Mhm. Any other questions? Yes, Miss Cindy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You just hand.
I just wondered if crafters at St. Mark had things they wanted to donate to that, would you be doing it at the bazaar in November, or what do you think?
What a good idea. She is thinking what we did this last year at the bazaar was the dessert table that was over here right after they picked up their chili, they could pick up desserts, and all of that money and that turned out to be $144 went to Aringa. But yeah, I'm open to all kinds of ideas, all kinds of ways to support this ministry. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, has everybody had a chance to look through the resource ministry portion of the annual report?
Talk about the budget.
So.
No.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, that has its own bullet points.
I've been on staff support for 6 years. Under the staff support, which is towards the back, there are a couple of corrections that are needed. Virginia Mager is finishing her second term, not her third term. This coming, well, end of 2023. And then Linda Matson resigned from the team. So, those corrections just need to be made.
Thank you. Anything else? Well,
We just had a question on the line item in the designated funds on Marilyn Hanson's inspiration. If somebody could just share with us what that, and we know who Marilyn, many of us know who Marilyn Hanson was, but
What page?
that's on page 24 in designated funds.
Thank you.
is there anyone that can address that?
Don, yeah.
Yeah, please don't fall. Don't fall down. Please don't fall down. Please don't fall down. Yeah, I'm done.
Oh.
Done for this year.
Okay, that money was,
Closer to the mouth.
Here.
Love you. Okay, there
There
you
you
go.
go.
that money was, donated by the family of Marilyn Hanson for use at St. Mark. And what has happened is we've used, half of it for an item, or for, I'm trying to remember, I can't remember exactly what it was. But we had about, $2,500 that was left over. And so we're using that, for different items that we need to do. Yes, and in that particular case, council will make the decision as to how it's gonna be used.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing no other questions, we'll move on to worship ministries.
Like the back page. Too far. 34. That's all it is. Riveting. Yep.
Yeah.
Page 34. There's 2 reports.
Siri,
Why is Siri
you're not
talking to
welcome
us?
here.
Siri is not invited to this meeting.
I did not, but I just made sure mine wasn't mine.
Anybody have any questions at all? Okay, then we'll move on to Bishop Lowell's annual report to the congregation.
Oh, come on up,
Okay, Sandy.
Sandy. Come on down, you're the next contestant.
The one that's confused.
About what?
About what?
Are we gonna talk about the memorial team and the property and all those others?
So Sandy was asking, am I confused because, are we gonna talk about each of these individually? We have done that in the past and it has taken a lot of time and it's hard, and then when it gets time for new business, people are already checked out. And so we wanted to leave this open time to, if anybody had any questions under any of these or anything that anybody wanted to say on behalf of any of these. And maybe that wasn't clearly stated. So we can go back and start over again. So like, if anybody has anything that they want to regard under any of the teams under Community Life Ministries, they can get brought at that time. And then when that's finished, Faith Development Ministries, if anybody has questions under that section, does that make sense?
No, so if you want.
So if you want to talk about, do you want to talk about one of them?
Property.
Come on,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we are gonna go back
Yeah.
to page 31 for the property report, and Sandy is here to talk on behalf of that.
Of course, I want to talk about the property report. Kind of near and dear to me. I hope they take some time to read it if you haven't already. I am looking for people to do some of the tasks that I have listed in that report. And for the last couple years, there hasn't been any property team. And so I'm kind of just looking, who am I gonna pick on this time for this thing? And so I'm looking for help. I don't know where we are with getting a property team together, but we need one badly because we have issues here in the church that need to be addressed. The building is getting older and older. There are things that I have brought to the attention of council and others. We have rotted windows. We have things, the painting was done in the basement and then the windows were gonna be finished, and that's how many months now, and that's not been completed. There's just so many things, and you'll see them in my report, but I have a couple of things that I want to add that I just wrote down. One of them is we have the brown chair rack sitting in the hallway, the classroom hallway. It always used to be up here, and when we got the table rack, then the chair rack seemed to go down to that hallway. But now what's happening is brown chairs are being brought up, but they aren't being put back, so they're lined up against the wall. So we need to decide, are we gonna have the brown chair rack up here, or are we gonna bring our brown chairs down to the rack and put them away? That's one thing. And I don't have my report with me, but there was one more thing I wanted to bring up. Yeah, so I wrote it down on my piece of paper.
You need to go get it?
Jim,
Let me look. Can someone
Jim can probably
help
tell.
Sandy out? Or
Oh,
Karen?
it's not in there. It's on the tape. Chairs was one thing, and then there was one more thing. The other thing, Ginny just reminded me of something. The other thing, you'll see in my report, I have a question about the property that is beyond the parking lot that goes. Thank you, Anita. That goes to the sidewalk. Currently, I mean, that is our church property, but nobody does anything with it. So we have down trees, we have limbs, we have garbage that's collected there, and my question is, should we sell it to the city? That's a discussion for maybe a group of people or maybe council to talk about it. But if there was a fire back there this summer and it needs attention. So since it's our church property, shouldn't we be taking care of it? And if we're not going to take care of it, then we should think about maybe selling it. That's just my thoughts. Jenny, do you have something to say?
This was kind of ugly. I went to our mayor to complain about North Star Park. It's been a dump ground for the last 5 years for our streets. They dumped everything back there and it's a mess. I'm sure Cheryl and Steve know how icky it is back there. I sent an email to the mayor asking him what they planned on doing with North Star Park. Well, he replied to me, I've set up a meeting for you with the city administrator, and this is the time and the date you are supposed to meet. Well, I got there and I was given this.
What is that?
It's a map of where our property is.
Yep, we have,
We have
we
that.
have that.
We also have a GPS board.
I'm sure you do, but I'm just telling you what they gave me. Okay, my issue back there is, we've had a hanging back there in the past few years. A 15-year-old that hung himself right off the walkway. And all the stuff that's back there anyway, so I said to him, this is our property, and he said, yes. We will mark it this spring and show you exactly where it is. We have trees that have to come down because they're diseased. Got to be taken care of. We had a fire back here. You had to call the fire department for with the kids that sent, put up a fort back there. And I said, are you guys going to take care of that? And he said, nope, it's right here. It's St. Mark's. We had a homeless guy that slept back there last summer and fall, bike, had a sleeping bag, he slept back there. Yeah. And so I knew where it was, and guess where it is? It's on St. Mark's
I didn't
property.
hear it. Ralph said that.
The drug dealings
There
are on St. Mark's property, and I
Kicked out
don't
of the
know if our
house.
church wants drugs being sold on our property.
That's a law enforcement issue. That we can't-
We have caused a law about it. So they have been there. So anyway, so there's things that go on that property, and I think we need to do something with it.
What I am hearing is that there is a lot of frustration around the lack of property leadership that is not taking place here at St. Mark. This is something that is going to be addressed coming up here under new business, talking about our ministry team burnout and what we are going to do to resolve that. But no, this is an ongoing and continuous frustration, and I'm hoping it will get addressed in new business. I want to commend Sandy and those who have stepped up and taken the extra time to do what they can to fix things as they have arrived, as they have shown up. But we know we need to do more. And I just want to address that, like, your frustrations are being heard. And we are functioning as a very different church than we used to. We had a lot of people that were active electricians, active plumbers, in the trades that could come and just do that. We don't have that anymore. And so we have to come up with new solutions as far as how do we address these issues as they come up. So, I don't know if you had more to add that. Oh, okay, I'll give it back to Sandy, but just know that, like, I know this is a frustration. Council knows that it's a frustration. And we will talk more about it at ministry burnout later on in the meeting.
I just wanted to say too, it's really good that I'm a very observant person, maybe too much. Because just yesterday, I was in here, or the day before, I was cleaning. And I was in the furnace room to get supplies, and I thought, gee, the furnace doesn't making this awful noise. So, right away, I messaged Jim, Floyd. This is what the furnace is doing. I did a video so they could hear it. And then I just leave it to them to address the problem. But if it was major, and I didn't notice it, we have $100,000 investment in that furnace. The other thing I wanted to bring up is we have storage issues. And I hope that we can talk about that a little bit, because we just don't have room, and a lot of supplies have been brought down to the basement. And so if you're looking for something, if you need something, it would be a good idea to go to the basement and look in that kitchen, because there's so many supplies that have been moved there. Also downstairs, there's a partitioned off area. And really, in my opinion, a partitioned off stacks of what we don't know what to do with, or nobody got it put away. And that should be also dealt with too.
Okay, thank you, Sandy. I would like to note one thing. This is a little frustration for me. We did have a church cleanup afternoon on October 15th, and we had very poor attendance from anybody here. We served hot dogs and s'mores and other things that day, but with the Boy Scouts thankfully stepped up and did a lot of cleaning for us. So I'd also call them out and just appreciation for what they've done too. And we have made some progress. All of the outlets in this particular part of the church have been changed out. So we have new outlets. In fact, 2 of the outlets, when they were pulled out of the wall, fell apart. So, and we spent
Thank you.
we spent a good Saturday morning redoing those outlets, and we will be getting to the other outlets. That's one of the next projects that I'm working on. So some of these things are getting taken care of.
Still recognize the back of that.
Are there any other comments, questions, concerns, or anything dealing with this part of the agenda? Okay, I would call your attention to Bishop Lowell's annual report to our congregation. We'll take a few minutes just to look through that.
35.
Page 35. Thanks, John.
Yep.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah. Okay, any questions or comments about Bishop Lowell's report to our congregation? Okay, we'll move forward to what everybody's here for, our new business. Going forward, I'm gonna have Pastor Molly come up and talk to the MSP review team.
Thank you.
I addressed early in my, in my opening paragraph in the annual report, just how this last year has been a struggle. Has been a challenge. We've talked a little bit about it, a little bit now, just with some of the frustrations of, not having a lot of chairs, for teams here, and how things have kind of shifted. So, I drafted something up that I need to read to you, that kind of just flush out kind of my past year, and just to kind of speak some truth to you about that. So bear with me as I read through this. Yep, I'll get to that. The MSP, I'll get to that. Yep, that'll wrap up after I read this. So some of you might be familiar with the Enneagram. It's a personality typing that is best understood and explored in community. It's helped me understand how I show up when I'm healthy and when I'm stressed, when I'm at home and when I'm in this community. According to the Enneagram, I am a 9, and that means that I value peace and harmony. I can be stubborn, but I'm likely to go with the flow. I'll find ways to avoid conflict because rocking the boat is not my jam. Along with this, my deepest fear is needing too much, pushing people away because I'm asking more than they are willing to give. And so when things get hard, I'm likely to pick up more slack instead of asking for help or calling for a revolution. I need you to know about this. I need you to know about me, I need you to know this about me, so you have some sense of how hard this past year has been and how vulnerable I feel about this statement and this meeting today. I hope you will listen well and receive what I have to say with grace because, like my shirt says, this pastor loves you. I was called to be your pastor in 2018 when the paperwork and call committee were focused on growing the church with families, especially those with young children, and the energy was gathered around putting efforts into new and exciting ways to be the church. I came with my fresh ideas and a desire to connect with the members of St. Mark and was ready to offer my gifts of enthusiasm and curiosity to a moment in the life of this congregation. In our first year together, we saw the need for something different, along with the gifts the congregation had to offer. And we learned that we were capable of a lot. We were always embraced the mantra of how will we know unless we try. There were challenges and setbacks, of course, but I was inspired by your leadership and vision, and we were building something together. COVID took us all by surprise. We never imagined a year and a half with our doors closed, scrambling to connect virtually, worshiping online, staying apart for the sake of our most vulnerable ones, and trying to get creative within a completely different framework. Like many solo pastors, I experienced a very steep learning curve and felt exhausted as a leader while grieving the solitude and unprecedented loss with everyone else. It's been a slow crawl out of COVID. And rather than feeling united in the common vision or bolstered by hope because we're moving into the future together, I've been overwhelmed by patterns of frustration and isolation and negativity. And so as part of my public report and reflection about this past year, I need to say a few things with as much clarity and courage as I can find. First, since reopening for in-person ministry, I have sensed an urgency for producing the same amount of activities and programming that we did prior to the pandemic. But the goal is not to return what we used to consider normal, simply because it feels familiar in uncertain times. We don't have to measure our ministry according to the past. We have all changed, and this congregation has changed. And the call is to figure out who we are now and what God has in mind for us next. Second, when we decide to reboot something old or try something new, it takes leadership, and not just mine or the same folks who always say yes. Since we have fewer volunteers and less energy than we did before, we have to be really clear about why we are saying yes to more output and who is making it happen. I'm sure you have heard of the phrase 10% of the people doing 90% of the work. And I believe this to be true for us here. If we resent our roles or feel reluctant about our leadership, it might be because that thing needs to pass away. I need to be clear that I cannot produce more on behalf of the whole community or pick up the things that no one else wants to do. It's not healthy and it's not pastoral. Third, the energy in our shared space is tense with collective grief and weariness, fear of change, and undercurrents of triangulation and gossip. There are patterns of problem calling instead of problem solving, which complicates simple issues by keeping us rooted in complaints. Now remember, I'm an Enneagram 9 and I am as conflict avoidant as they come. But I would rather move through conflict together and constructively than stay rooted in complaints, waiting for someone else to do the work. When I walk into this space on Sundays, it feels like a community living in stress and toxic tension. A community that forgot they belong to each other and can talk to each other with compassion and grace. And it breaks my heart because Sundays are for something else entirely. They are for embodying resurrection with joy and for practicing that love and life get the last word. And that's what we need. That's why visitors come. And that's the call of the church. I have a lot to give. I love being a pastor, and I am confident that God has called me and equipped me with the gifts of the Holy Spirit to be one. I care about the church. When I took my ordination vows almost 13 years ago, I promised to equip and support the people of God, to remind you that you are the church called to this time and place. I promise to administer the word and the sacraments with joy and generosity and grace. So when I pray for this congregation, I ask God to give me the strength and the compassion to tell the truth with love and to remind me daily that this is not my job to save the church or to do all the things. Rather, it is my job to trust that the saving has already been accomplished. I have been set free to love and serve with you and to believe that is enough. If you want to move forward together and in the spirit, then I'm the right pastor for you. I will remind you often that we don't have to do all the things or measure our success according to old metrics that broke during COVID. I will honor your yes and your no, and will only pick up what we can carry with joy and faithfulness. I will love you and I will encourage you, and over time, we'll remember the reasons we love being the church together. But, and this takes all the courage that I have to say this, if the urgency to go back in time, the limited leadership, and the negative energy continue to overwhelm our ability to live out our gospel together, then I'll need to go. I hope that what I have shared with you will inspire you to reflect about how you're feeling about this past year. What has been hard or unhealthy for you? What are you longing for instead of what we're currently doing? I can only hope you'll have conversation with each other directly, sharing honestly and listening actively for ideas and solutions. And I hope you'll pray for each other with open hearts. Invite God to move into our discord and discomfort with a fresh call to be the church and a new vision for what that means for us right now. This is not easy to say, and I have been working on writing this up for a couple months because I wanted to make sure that I was direct, but also honest, to show you how much I care about each and every one of you and the ministry of this place. And so one of the steps that I know that I can partake in is this MSP review team. The MSP stands for Ministry Site Profile. And that was something that was filled out every time you called a new pastor here. I am not saying that you need to fill it out because you need to call a new pastor here. Hear me when I say that.
I'm working.
Okay? This MSP is not to call a new pastor. The ministry site profile was filled out by a group of people here at church that reflected on who you were and what you needed in a pastor. And then that was given out to pastors to interview. And then the call committee did the interview process, and I was called because it was a good match. What I am requesting, based on a wonderful suggestion, is that we go back to the ministry site profile that was created when you called me 4 years ago, to create a team of a few people that were on that original ministry site profile team that wrote that up, a few people from there, a few people from my call committee, and then a few people that were part of neither of those processes. And to sit down and to go over the ministry site profile to see if any of that is still accurate. We need to address and recognize who we are, because I don't think we know. And I think we want to know, but we don't know where to start. And I think the ministry site profile is a great resource to start there. Now, once we look at that and we see if all those things are still the same and reflect on who we are and who we want to be, great, wonderful. Then at least we know confidently and we can make some steps. If it's not, we then need to figure out who we are. But hear me when I say this, that MSP cannot be rewritten just to keep me here. Flattering, love it. And I would want to stay here too, but we're not doing the church or myself any favors by not being true and honest to who we are. This is not my resignation speech. This is not my do better or I'm out, but it's kind of along those lines in the sense that we need to take the time and create the space to figure this out. Because I can't do it all. I trust this process that we will start. I think a lot will come to fruition by doing this and figuring out so we can take those next steps. Does anybody have any questions for me about this in the initial? I know I just threw a lot at you, and I've been thinking about this for a while. So I want you to be able to take time to process it and to leave space to figure out if you do have questions or concerns or wonderings. I will be setting up some specific office hour times. So if you want to sign up and come in to come talk to me, I will create the space to do that. Yep. If anybody does need a copy of what I just read to you, because you just process it better by reading it, I have some copies available, so you can come and see me for that. I couldn't go on any longer without not saying anything. And I wanted to be and direct as transparent as possible, because it's the best form of communication. So in the next few weeks, I will be putting together this ministry site profile team. I will be figuring out who can be a part based on which, if you are interested in being a part, you can shoot me an email, let me know. But we need to start doing the work and figuring this out. Any questions, wonderings? Yes.
Pastor Molly, thank you so much for taking the time and the prayerful thoughtfulness to write that out and to share it with us. We need people from them to be just that direct. And I firmly believe that God is in control here. And I believe that He is speaking to us through your words. And so thank you for me, for saying that, for sharing that with us. I really appreciate it. And I don't think you're going anywhere, but then I don't know what God has planned. So we'll just trust in Him and go from there.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to echo what Yvonne said, but I'll add that I too want to thank you and wish that you would ask or talk to any one of us. If there's something we directly can do to help you in any way, it would be very helpful for all of us to step up and pick up some, whatever it is, that is a burden on you. So thank you again.
Ma'am. Thank you for listening and I appreciate each and every one of you. So. The next thing we'll talk about is team ministry burnout. People. We have had a structure in place for a very long time about different teams, different committees. And usually there has been a chair of each of these teams that is kind of overseeing the work of each of these teams. And the past few years, because of COVID, because of burnout, because of this, that, or the other, we're not having that leadership anymore. And so, prime example, property, a lot of things are getting forgotten about or not championed, if you will. So what I am going to suggest is that at least for this next year, if not more, if it works, and we'll continue to go with it. But instead of having, I'll just use social ministry as an example. Social ministry, as you saw, has a lot of lists of things. So they do the blood mobile, the blood drive, they do the mitten tree, they do the Super Bowl Sunday gathering, noisy offering. They do, I mean, and each food and festival does a lot too, when they have to take on all these different events. What I am suggesting is that instead of having a food and festival team, there is a fall festival team. There is a Sunday morning cinnamon roll team. There is specific to each event. Same with social ministry. Let there be a blood drive team. Let there be a mitten tree team. Let there be individual teams based on the individual event. More people, I am noticing, and this isn't just for St. Mark, this is everywhere, are willing to take on an event than serve on a committee or a team to oversee all the events for the year. It's just the mentality of where we are. And that's fair and that's fine. But then we need to restructure how our leadership kind of takes it on. Because like I said, 10% of the people are doing 90% of the work and people are burning out and getting real exhausted. And so we have the buckets that we did at Fall Festival where you kind of put your interests of where they lie. We will be resurfacing those lists and we've kind of done our calendar year planning with council to kind of make sure that all the events kind of get on our calendar so they have the reserved dates. So the next thing is getting out that mass calendar and having people sign up for individual events. I want to sign up for the March blood drive. I want to sign up for the May blood drive. I want to sign up for the mitten tree in November. I want to sign up for food at Fall Festival. I want to sign up for like very specific and event specific signups because it's getting hard. And Maggie, this kind of reflects a little bit of kind of what you just said about ask us and we're willing to help take the burden off. Well, here's the thing. We're asking and now we're starting to get met with no's and or hesitation or I want to help, but I don't want to be in charge of it. And there are certain things, and Jenny and I both know that we are people that don't want to let things drop. And so we would take things on and be like, okay, well, we can't let this drop. So I guess you and I will just do it. And that's not sustainable. That's not church and that's not sustainable. And so Jenny and I, well, Jenny's no longer works here. Myself, as well as Bailey in the office, need to recognize what we can do and what we know we can't do. And to be honest with you, it takes time to sit and call people and ask, can you do this? Okay, can you do this? Can you do this? And I mean, I would love it if someone loves being on the phone and wants to call people for us to ask these things. Or, you know, but we need to change. And I know I need to work on that too. I need to let things drop. If no one signs up to help, then we need to maybe let that drop and maybe make room for something new or something different. So, that'll be another thing that I hope as we kind of get a process out in taking on some more leadership in this church, just doing a restructuring of it and seeing how we can handle and navigate that. Does anybody have questions about this new idea or comments on structuring of leadership or ministry teams or the like?
Maggie.
Would love to offer to help go through those buckets or the lists
Mhm.
and see where we can help arrange those different groups.
Great. Good luck. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Maggie. A lot of stuff has happened in the past 3 years, and I think this inevitably would have happened. It just pushed us really hard into it really quickly. And so we're kind of playing catch up now. And let me also tell you, every single church is dealing with this exact same thing. Exact same thing. This isn't a St. Mark specific thing. Every church is struggling to find leadership in staffing, in committees, in event planning, in volunteer organizing. It is, but that the culture of church is also changing. So we're up against a lot of change, which is terrifying. But also, hopefully, that's where SALT, of us being SALT, can encourage us to do more and give it an edge instead of keeping things bland. Who likes to live in a bland world? Not me. So, and that just resonate a little bit with you. Any other things on this? If not, we will, oh, Cindy.
I just have.
No, you can't just, you have to say it.
It's just, I don't even know if it's a suggestion, it's an idea, and I don't know if you need to think about it, but here you go. So is there like a way, you know, have this sign up, which I think is an excellent idea to sign up for a thing here and there, whatever. But is there a place, I know we did the buckets, maybe after the buckets are, and I would help Maggie go through those buckets too. But anyway, at one point in time, a long time ago, we had a time where like, it was like a town hall meeting or whatever you want to call it, where people got together and they were like, I would like to see us do this. I would like to see this happen. I would like to see this happen to the property. I would like new banners. I would like new things that just like ideas, just like, you know, I don't know, dream machine, whatever, just, you know, what would you like to see? Because I think, I know there were some people that have talked about doing things, but it's never been a formal, like, I wanted, except for Rolf, where he.
Where's Rolf? Ludafisk dinner, Rolf!
Along the lines of Ludafisk Man, where it was like, here's an idea, and I would even help do it because I want to see it happen.
Yeah.
Because like, people have talked about that, you know, just in conversation of, oh, I wish we could do, you know, I wish we do a cookie exchange at Christmas. Someone said that. So it's like a time that could kind of become real instead of just talk.
Yes, absolutely. Trish?
I think one of the things you're talking about, kind of, Cindy, is what we used to call vision building, where there's a part of it is the whole idea of there's no idea that's stupid. You just throw it out there because you think about it. But then you look at also the roadblocks and you look at them and go through a whole process of what is it that we're looking for. Site profile kind of does a little bit of that, but it doesn't allow for the big ideas that are just off the wall a little bit, you know. So maybe along with the site profile, we could do some vision building activities.
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you for saying that. I mean, like, you know, those windows that look into the sanctuary, you know, there's like 4 of them right there. Like I envision a bunch of Post-its up of new ideas that people have all the time, and that's a common space that everybody walks by. And everybody can look at that list, and if they see something up there, they're like, oh, I wanna do that. Take down that Post-it, be a ludicrous man and walk into the office and say, I wanna do this. And I'll say, great, let's do it. We need more of that. And whether it's something as bold as ludicrous or as simple as gathering around and having appetizers and talking about Zacchaeus, I don't know, like whatever your idea is, let there be ideas. The buckets have been created into color-coded Excel spreadsheets. And so when something does come up, we do use those sheets. And maybe we need to post them somewhere, I don't know. But we do have them as reference now. So when something comes up, we can look at that list and be like, well, these are the people that said they'd be interested in that. And we do start there. So those buckets are getting used. Those lists are being used for that. But yes, we do need more vision building and space to dream together and take on ownership, because and it's possible. Like you guys, the Ludicrous dinner, he came in and within 2.5 hours of him coming in and coming up with that idea, Carla's not here. Carla yours isn't here. She did the calling and we had all the volunteers in 2 hours. It's possible. It is doable. Like it's in you. We have to just get back into that mindset again. So I will figure out ways to have some dreaming and visioning more visible. Yes, Sandy. Nope, don't talk until you get the microphone.
I'll meet you halfway.
Just a suggestion. So last year we had the bake sale that's coming up again soon, and we had so much left over. And yes, it went to a good cause, but we need to advertise and let people know we're doing this. We should be putting all these events on our sign. Yes, maybe not a few people will come, but maybe in time they'll see what we're doing and they will come. And I had my own experience at the Methodist Church when I went to see how they did a cookie sale. And this is exactly what happened. I got there right close to the time, a lady was expecting me because I just wanted to see how they did their cookie sale. I walked in, there was a row of ladies sitting in chairs and they're like, the line's back here. They thought I was coming to butt in line, and they had all the people waiting for the door to open so they could get their cookies. We just need to invite, just like we're doing. Right there, invite. Thank you.
I also think that sometimes it's a one and done. And when you have a lot of energy around something, let's do it. But if you don't, maybe it's just a one and done. And to be able to say, we're not gonna do cards this year because we don't have energy around that. Maybe we want a grief group, maybe we want something different. So when there's energy, we do it.
Yeah.
And maybe there'll be less or whatever, and maybe there won't. And I really think we need to kind of embrace that, because change is hard.
Change is hard. Absolutely. Thank you for naming that. I appreciate that so much.
Yes. Oh, Wally.
Just, I don't know if people remember when Stephanie Nelson, stand up. When Stephanie Nelson was here and she was working with staff, I believe she had her as a part-time intern. Yeah, she was working on a ministry framework. She called it Common Ground Ministries. And it's exactly what you're talking about. And I know the documentation, I think there's some in the library, my wife pointed out to me, still from that. She and myself and Steve were working, the primary ones working on that. I would love if anybody would be interested in taking a look at the framework that she put together to sit down and go over that and see how we might take advantage of some thinking that's probably a decade old now even, but it was still revolutionary. So if anybody would be interested, I'd love to go back and look at it myself. So if anybody's interested in joining me with that, let me know.
Let Wally know. Wally. Okay. Thanks, Wally. Anything else? These are all great, wonderful things. And again, it's in you. You can hear it. Like there's enthusiasm and excitement around it. We gotta do it. So I'll be more like Ludicrous Man. All right, let's continue.
We could discuss what-
No, we're not.
No, we have to nominate.
We have to nominate. Let's get the nominations done and then we can do plan for ministry. Let's follow the agenda.
Okay, moving on.
Are we doing both of them?
We can do both of them.
Who's going to count them?
It can't be council. It would be
I can do it. I'll do it. It's
Jenny
fine.
and I will do it. Jenny and I will do it. Okay. Kate can do it. Okay. Go ahead. Go over the nominations.
Okay, we're gonna entertain nominations from the body for president, vice president, and member at large. Let's start with president.
On this one too, don't forget.
Yeah, and then,
We also do have a ballot here.
for now.
We're gonna be passing out. And there is space for,
There's two
Right.
ballots. There's two ballots going out. The first one is for council president, and then vice president and at large, those who are willing to take on a second term. And then the second ballot is for nominating committee for next year. You can have up to 6 and 4 people have stepped up and are willing to serve on it. So, with that, we can take nominations from the floor. But don't throw anybody under the bus. Yeah, there should be a second one coming.
and I will note that we already have nomination for president, and that's Rolf. And then we have a nomination for vice president, and that's Tom. So. Oh, sorry. We do have a nomination for president, and that's Rolf. And then we have a nomination for vice president, and that's Tom. So are there any other nominations for president?
Okay. Yeah, there's 2 different ballots coming. They're coming around. Just 2 people have now asked the question, and so it needs to be clarified. About 3 years ago, it was an automatic that whoever served in the vice president role, their second year, they would move into the president's role. And that was a big assumption that people who were serving as vice president did not want to have that as an automatic. So we changed it in our constitution that it is not an automatic move from vice president into president for their second year. And we're letting the vice president have the choice if they want to either stay or if they would like to move into the president. We always offer it as part of the conversation. But we were having people not even wanting to sign up to be vice president because they never wanted to be president. And we want to be able to give there to be some leadership freedoms in that. So that specifies right there on the ballot, Rolf Anderson is up for election for president. And then Tom Kozak is up to be reelected as vice president. And then Brenda has agreed to do a second term as an at-large member. Does that make sense? Okay, yes. Also on the nominating committee ballot, you can have up to 6. Like I said, we have 4, so you can vote for all 4 if you want. You vote how you want. It's freedom to vote. So, so at this time, if there are any other questions or concerns about the ballots, otherwise, there's a bucket of writing utensils, Donna, if anybody needs a writing utensil. Yes, oh, Jenny, did you have a question? For the at-large, council members. Daryl is currently still in his first term, so that's why there's not a line next to him, but it just shows that he is the other at-large member. And Brenda is rerunning to serve as a second term as an at-large member. So, or you can, yeah, so you can vote. There's only one vote for president, one vote for vice president, one vote for at-large. So we don't have multiple names running. If you have another nomination, you can write that in. If you want to. And then on the other one, it's not just nominating. We do have someone running to join the endowment team, and that's John Tennyson. So you can vote, you can put checks next to all their names if you think that they will all serve well in those roles. Okay, or you can write a name in as well. Okay. What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then me 7. 7 people on council, including myself.
Does everybody have a ballot now?
Yeah, does everyone have a ballot? 2 ballots, everyone should have 2 ballots.
Sorry.
Okay. And if you are ready, if someone at your table wants to collect them all, and then we'll come around and collect them at each table, and then we'll continue. What?
Well, we're still taking nominations.
No one said anything.
Yeah, nothing was said, so.
Okay, wait, hold on.
We need to close nominations for the floor too.
Yes, we do.
We do.
So,
You do it.
I move that we close nominations from the floor.
okay, Wally has moved that we close nominations from the floor. Is there a second? Okay, all in favor, say aye. All opposed? Okay, yeah,
Thank you.
I have another motion I'd like to make then. I'd like to just make a motion that the ballot is accepted as a white ballot as it is. I'd like to make that motion.
Okay,
Wally has moved, we accept it as a white ballot. All nominations on there accepted. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay, it passes. Thank you, Wally. Good amendment.
you do it for both.
My motion included both of them.
Your motion included both.
Motion included both of the ballots.
No, and there's no counting needed.
Probably saved us about 10 minutes here. Wally. That's what you can think.
You guys good with that too?
Okay. Congratulations, Walt.
Yay, Ralph!
Tom. And Brenda.
Do you want to say anything or are you good? Do you want to say anything or are you good? Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, your new council president, Luda Fitzman.
Forever gonna be known by that.
Yeah, I know.
I'd just like to apologize that everybody should have had a chance to hear me speak before you voted.
We don't have to.
But
We don't.
I was gonna say, you should listen to me speak before you voted. But thank you, likely, probably kind of a greenhorn, but I'm very confident with the other, staff and a lot of people in this, there's a lot of talented people in this congregation that I know are gonna support me, so I feel very confident about that. Since I'm holding the microphone, I'm gonna say my thing about Pastor Molly, because there's a big group here, but all I'm gonna say is, and I think a lot of you probably share the same just feeling. I was on that mission exploration team, and it seemed kind of, what we were doing seemed abstract. The discussions were good, but it was, it's hard to really put a nail down what we were gonna, what our pastor, who our pastor was gonna be. And I remember thinking afterwards, when Pastor Molly took the call, I thought, wow, our call committee did a really great job. I thought the call committee really nailed it, and it's one of those things that there's blessings in your life that you just like, well, yeah, that worked out. It was the way it was supposed to be. That's what I think about when I think about Molly and how we wound up with her. So Okay, let's move on to plan for ministry now. And what page? we got there?
What?
No, maybe it's time for me to talk.
What?
Hold on.
Hold on.
Hold on a second, we'll get you the microphone here.
You can't hear each other.
They can't hear you.
Okay. I'm Mary Olson, in case you don't know who I am, I think I'm in here, and I'm not actually a member. But I've been showing up because it's easier to get here than other places. And I like this church. But I learned something a long time ago. A man named Herbert O'Driscoll said, "We have 5 gifts for the journey: word, water, bread and wine, and one another." And I agree with him. That's my amen.
Amen.
Thanks, Susan. We'll stop. Susan just said the papers were loud.
Peanut gallery, come on.
Okay, I'd like to entertain some suggestions or some thoughts on our plan for ministry.
Do you want to invite Donna to come be a part of, yeah,
Oh, or Susan too.
or Susan?
Don, come on up.
Donna and Susan.
Good meeting.
I think if you were looking at the annual report, you had a plan for ministry, but there is also, there is an addition here. So on your table, you should have found the new plan for ministry.
Adjusted or addendum,
Yeah.
not brand new, but.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain this one?
So what we have different here is that when we had our town hall meeting, we did not have an opportunity for Mary to, Dr. Mary, to put in what her budget was, what you wanted for her work to be done. And also, we did not have the FICA. So those are 2 items that were not, or that were different. And also, pastor's salary was a little bit different than what was shown in the annual report. And also, one of the things that you'll see here is this, you'll see the very first column has an N or a D. And that is designating discretionary or non-discretionary. And there are a number of items that are non-discretionary and we have to pay those. The D is discretionary, and if the money is not there, we cannot spend that money. That has been the plan, or what we've been doing for a number of years. So I want you to be aware of that. But be aware of the different things that we've put in here. So are there any questions on this? I know that we had the town hall meeting and we did that. There's some over here too. So, John, can you hand him some of the?
Do we need to make more copies? I will make more copies. Have someone else. Bailey, see, get your bag.
No, this is an opportunity to talk about this, you know, obviously, we did spend a large amount of time talking about it 2 weeks ago. But we'd like to maybe, is there anything else that we want to talk about, because it has changed a little bit, not a lot, but it has changed.
I just want to clarify, so, there are a couple items that have not, when we kind of talked about the plan for ministry as a whole, we didn't really factor in, the new line items, which are the Christmas, Easter music budget, the accompanist budget, and those are the two.
Yeah.
Yep, so those were gonna be brought to separately to talk about first if need be. Otherwise, if there's no discussion around it, then we would just vote for the plan for ministry as you see it. Does that help clarify things if there's any further discussion that needs to be had?
After,
Paybacks.
the two addendums, I think when we met 2 weeks ago, we were all pretty much on the same page that we're operating in a deficit. And the accompaniment,
I know, it's a hard word.
the one position and then the special music are funds that have not traditionally been in the budget, and operating on the deficit we are right now, I don't see how we can vote for approval of those. So is anybody want to discuss that right now? Otherwise, I move that we, Wally, well, do we deny that, or how do we? What motion do I need to make? Just,
Motion on the floor right now.
No, it's.
Okay.
We need to have a motion.
okay,
Discussion,
Discussion.
and then a motion.
discussion, anyone?
What is the total that we're? Still a little fuzzy on.
What are we?
There's so many numbers here. That, what number?
Repeat the question, so.
Oh, I think the question is, what is the dollar amount for the whole thing? Oh.
Oh.
There is a difference, what
We
we
also have
have
to list it wrong
for
on
the accompanist is, $975. And then for the Christmas and Easter musicians is $800. Those are the two that would be added in. Oh, I thought Pat was going to say something. Okay, so, and then of course, like I said, the other thing that wasn't in there from last week was the fact that for the FICA, we just had been missed, and so we had to add that in here. So, we have that.
We also have, hang on, we also have an adjustment from Susan that some benefits are listed incorrectly.
Okay,
She had texted you this morning about it.
well, I was at church.
Well, most people bring their church to phone too. Their phone to church.
I don't listen.
Daryl?
Yeah.
And then there's something else on the chat as well. So
I guess I have a concern
Careful.
with the budget
the Oregon
themselves.
benefit.
Are the
Organist
numbers
benefits.
accurate, Don? The reason I ask is if you look at the plan for ministry in, and just, this is just on the income or salary portion of it. If you look at the total dollar amount in the one that was in the annual report versus the one that is so far revised, and there was 3 things added to that. The difference is like $50. Are those numbers accurate?
Oh, one of the things that why you see a little bit of a difference, but very little, is that we had for the organist, for a guest organist, we had $1,000, and we lowered that down to $500, so that's what dropped down.
Yeah.
Yeah, we lowered that by $1,000, but then we added $6,500
Yep.
taxes, so where's the difference?
I'll have to check on that one. I don't. There's also, I just wanna, I'll have to check on that, Daryl, because the other thing that just found out is that
Microphone.
we just found out that for the organist for benefits. Susan had corrected that. It was showing, $8,900. And benefits are actually going to be $12,750. So we're
That's a
gonna
big
see a
difference.
huge increase there. And I'll have to find out from Susan why that changed. Because. So,
So what do we do moving forward?
Hang on, hold on. I have a question from the peanut gallery here. Can I have the? A question was asked on our Zoom link. Why would we be paying for an accompanist and special music when we have an excellent musicians in our congregation? And plus, isn't that why Dr. Mary was hired?
that is a good question. I know that's been asked before, so.
Okay. I know this was talked about at the town hall meeting, so just to clarify first, the 900. Where are the two? 975 that is listed in there, is the amount of money that would be if we paid an accompanist on Wednesday nights from January to May, $75 per Wednesday. And the reason that an accompanist is being asked if, to pay for one is, and maybe Mary, you can talk more about this. Mary has a flare-up issue with wrists that if she plays on Wednesday for choir, then it flares up and then she's not able to play on Sunday morning for worship. And when this first happened, we accommodated because it happened and we weren't ready for it. But now we need to plan accordingly. If Mary can't play on Wednesdays, and we need her to play on Sundays. And Mary, I don't know if you want to speak on behalf of that at all either. But that was the reasoning for it, of why, and whether the accompanist, because we thought about the accompanist playing on Wednesday and then on Sunday, but in order to save on money wise, just having them come on Wednesday. But then I know there was conversation of if we had an accompanist on Wednesday night and Mary was able to direct, but then on Sunday she still had to play, then it's allowing the choir to rehearse one way but perform another. And so there was confusion about that too. But Mary, if you want to just talk on this need and then.
That amount money is for how?
Yeah, and and the amount of money that that 975 is if we paid $75 for a Wednesday rehearsal between February and May. Yes. That would be a separate, so we thought we would just talk about the initial need for now to get us through the end of the year. And then we could readdress it come the fall, but I'll let Mary address.
Well, first of all, thank you for looking at this very carefully. Oh, this is better?
Yes.
Is it better? Sorry about that. Thank you for looking at this carefully. Basically, what this is, hopefully is a short-term need. I mean, I have a medical issue right now. I'm in therapy. I see my therapist twice a week for physical therapy. And it's just a short-term issue, but it just means that I can't play as much as I had hoped I could, or when I originally started in the fall. So this isn't something that, I mean, hopefully my flare will get better and go away and, that won't be an issue for fall, but at this point, it's hard to say what that is. But what we're trying to do is just keep the music ministry of choir going, because right now we haven't had choir. I've had to, we had to sit out and wait. First of all, was to find an accompanist, which I'll tell you, there's a huge shortage right now. So that's why when I saw the choir at Christmas Eve, I said, hey, I don't know when we're starting up again. I don't know if I can even find one. And so I was lucky to have the person who was helping us in the fall, who's a professional musician. She's able to come out and join us. So I I found a company, so they're excited about that, and then now it's just an issue of how can we help pay her. And the other thing too, I just want to point out is, you know, we have a, I know there was a huge concern about the financial aspect of the short-term app. I just want to encourage you guys to maybe think that there are other options out there. I mean, maybe I can, and I'm not promising this, but I'm just throwing it out there as, you know, another possibility. You know, it's possible that the musician could maybe be paid a little bit less. It's possible that I could help match some funds. I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't want us to be scared away and say no automatically because we don't have this number 975 that scares us. I'm just here to ask you and encourage us all to think, how can we make choir happen? How can we do this ministry? So I think maybe for me, of course, it's a near and dear thing because that's part of what I was hired to do. But I guess I just want to encourage you to not be scared about that number. Let's think about maybe how we can make it happen. And if we need to drop the number down, so let's say 600, if we can approve $600, you know, maybe I can donate something towards it, which might even drop it down further. So I guess I just ask you to think about how can we have this ministry happen? Are there any questions for me?
Okay, are there any additional questions? Wally?
Stand up.
Oh, sorry. Be comfortable. Yeah, thank you, Mary, for those words. I think that's very helpful to hear that. It seems to me if I go through our designated funds, we have a lot of room for this money in designated funds. I don't think we should be afraid of it at all either. I look at, we have Maryland, I asked about the Maryland Hanson's Inspiration Fund because that's pretty discretionary. We can use that. Senior choir has money, there's Thriving Choice dollars, there's worship team. You can pick out a number of opportunities in designated funds to be able to make up the difference here. So anyway, I just point that out. I think council has discretion on those funds, or finance does, on how to use those. I think we could probably consider that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, we've been spoiled at this church for a long time. We've had some very talented people that were actually members of our church and performed for us throughout all the years. And we got spoiled because they did it for cheap. And guess what? Now is the time that we need to step up and cover the cost of getting this done, because we cannot get rid of our music program. It's the most important thing in this church as far as I'm concerned. I grew up with it. And so I hate to see us not have a choir. So I just hope we can get together and get it done.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, everyone, I'm relatively new here. It's not really a question, it's just more of something that I observed. So when you do the math on a lot of the, especially discretionary versus non-discretionary, you'll see that the vast majority of our budget, like 90% plus, is non-discretionary. And that's very difficult to grow things, because you can't make any changes. And it's important, I think, also to remember that we probably shouldn't take any of this stuff personally. When we talk about stuff like the choir companies, I think we need to discuss that separately than the Christmas music, because I think those are two very different concepts. We have people in this church that can do stuff, music wise. I've seen them play. I can play the piano. There are other people here that can play the piano. I don't know that we need to take those two as a single option. I think that there's room to say, okay, one, yes, definitely need an accompanist, because I don't think anybody here is ready to play at that level. For like Christmas music and Easter music, I think that we could fully staff that by people in this stuff. I really truly do. And also, I'm worried that if we commit to something like that, we say music's the most important part of the church, and I think a lot of us think that. But if we look down at some of the other stuff like support, outreach, faith development, some of those numbers are alarming low for what I think should be the most important part of the church. So I think it's important to remember music is important, but it might not be the most important thing. And that's all I just gotta say.
Thanks, Eric.
And also, with for the music and all this other stuff, I know we've talked about that there maybe the school has, people that can play and stuff like that for special music. So that's another option, but remember, that's a discretionary and we, if we have the money, we will do it. If we don't have the money, we probably can't do certain things. So like Eric said, we need to, step up and do this, some additional stuff here. So that's where we're at with that. Any other discussion on this? Jim or John?
You go, Bill.
Hi, Susan. So I guess what I hear is if we approve these as discretionary items, before we do these things, there will be a requisition sent to finance. So I'm a member of the finance committee, so we can decide whether we have the money or not to do it. So it would have to be, we would have to have advance notice of this. I would say at least probably 2 weeks or a month before any of these things come up.
Lloyd?
I think the difference that Daryl was mentioning is under the payroll section. I can't get the same numbers on that you're seeing there. We may have to recalculate those real quick to make sure.
John, Susan says hi. You didn't hear me. John, Susan says hi. You gotta keep the laughter, right?
Okay, we will, there are some numbers that are off here a little bit. We'll make sure that those are corrected and get that out to folks as an addendum to the addendum.
Great.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to table it.
Oh.
I don't know what else to do.
I think probably we should do that. So moved.
Can we just pause for 5 minutes?
Sure. Can we do it that quickly?
I don't know if you guys heard that, but they're asking, what do we do to vote on it? When the numbers aren't correct. I don't know if they heard that.
That's the hard part right now for tabling it. The question is, how do we then, go to vote on it? And actually, I have to admit that this is one of the biggest things that we have to do here at this meeting today is to come up with our plan for ministry. So.
Amendments to the budget without finalizing the budget. Touch that later. Because we can still vote on the amendments we're trying to add for the line we're trying to add.
Yes,
They're already in there.
they're already in. Well, they are.
No,
in
they're-
there. I know what he's saying. What he is saying is that it doesn't, the numbers don't add up. But he's wondering if we're just those 2 items that we are going to add in there. Should we vote on wanting to do that? I don't. I don't have it in front of me. Okay. I'd like to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we table the vote on the plan for ministry, go with continuing resolutions based on the budget from last year. And then have another meeting in, I believe we have to give a 2 weeks announcement before we have a congregational meeting, so it would have to be in March to finalize and vote on the final budget package.
I'll second that.
Okay, but then what do we do about?
Now it's open for discussion. We're not voting.
What about Claire?
Now we're open for discussion.
Dr. Newton, you had a question?
You cannot talk to my. Okay, you kind of answered my question, because basically I just need to know about the line item of the choir accompanist, because right now I have my choir on hold, sing at home Wednesday nights, wondering when we're starting choir. So if you table this till March, I mean, I understand there's lots of questions, and I can understand you want to be thorough and be good, and be good stewards. I totally understand that. But I'm just wondering if the choir accompanist portion has to be tabled as well, because if there's any hope for us to even participate in Holy Week and Easter, we have to start way before March. So that's my 2 cents.
Ditto. Oh, Nance.
Conrad and I would like to say that choir can start Wednesday. There will be funds for the accompanist till March.
Thank you.
By offering that we do continuing resolutions from the budget from last year for the next month, that gives council and finance the option to move designated funds in for this. They can choose to do that. That we don't have to vote on that today in order for that to happen. You just have to talk to finance to make sure they can find the money with a requisition in order to get it done.
One of the things that we can do is, if you look at seeing choir has a large amount of money sitting there. And so we can use that money to cover the cost for the accompanist. So that doesn't mean that we can't do it. We are just gonna borrow some money from one place to cover it. So we could go forward with it, Mary, so that you can have your group together and stuff like that. And that won't prevent us from not, or, well, waiting a month, to do this, we will be okay. You can still do that. There are ways to do it.
One at a time.
Okay, anything else, or we know? So choir starts on Wednesday, right? Oh, 6:30. And just turn in a requisition so that we can make sure that we have it and figure out where it's gonna go. 'Cause again, it helps out quite a bit for finance anyhow, knowing what people need to have ahead of time, because otherwise we're, this, especially when it's something that is discretionary and non-discretionary, it helps out quite a bit. So
Can I call for a vote on the current motion? We're just tabling the budget.
yes, we need to have a vote. All in favor?
Second,
So we're done.
yes.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor of tabling the plan for ministry until plan for ministry is what we use. That we have a meeting in March.
Aye.
All against? I guess it's taken that we will get these numbers together and we will get them out within the next week or so. And we will be asking for a meeting here in March. And so we will be sending out by email and also have it for next Sunday so that you can start looking at the correct numbers. Okay.
Sunday, don't promise me Sunday.
Okay, moving on, we're gonna ask for affirmations for the good of St. Mark,
What's in the parentheses?
at least 10.
Thank you.
What does that mean?
You have to have at least 10.
You need to have at least. I know everyone is eager to get out of here. I know that it is 10 to 1 and people need to have their afternoon nap or go get lunch or whatever, and I get that. But we need to take the time right now and talk about the good of St. Mark and things to celebrate and not end early on that element of it. The reason we end on this is to end on a positive note. And I don't want to rush through this. So that is why I put that we have to have at least 10. Go ahead.
Daryl with the microphone.
I just want to say thank you to everybody that's in this room. I've been a member here for, I don't know, almost 30 years, and I think this is the biggest number of people I've seen in an annual meeting since I've been here. Thank you, everybody. For everybody making the worship room. So there we go.
Who else has got one?
That was one.
That was one.
I just want to remind everyone that, our church is getting to be really well known in the community. The Chamber of Commerce meets here, they have dinners here, and our doors are open. And I think it's really important that you all know that you're responsible to that.
That's two. That's
Making you dizzy. Sorry, guys.
I want to thank everybody for all their donations to the plant sale last spring. We're gonna do it again this year and hope we can get a little bit more for St. Mark.
I would like to follow that up with thanks for everybody that was involved in our fall festival. I think it was very successful, and I'm hoping this next year we can get even more members of the community out here with a little bit more advertising, a little more outreach. Although we did do quite a bit. I will give credit for that. Anybody else?
And then Anita, come on up here. I think we need to give a great big thanks to Jenny and to Bailey for all the immense office work and bulletins and website, and the list goes on and on.
I personally would like to give a huge thank you to all of the people I have spoken with and have brought forth their support for the Tanzania scholarships. That is a special ministry within this church. It extends to the world, and it's just very important. It's very touching. I have no desire to ever go to Africa, but I want them to be educated.
I just thank you to those people that have stepped up and helped me when I say, what do I do about this? Who can fix this? What do you think about this? Thanks for your help. I appreciate it.
Come closer to the screen here. We're coming this way.
I wanted to say thank you for the people that have the bazaar that's in charge of it. It's a lot of work and stuff, and that opens up our church to the community. And it's such a, it's very nice to do it. And also, Karen Gregory started the garage sale thing, and that was really nice too. Another thing for our community that's new, that people that don't go here can be involved in.
I'm thankful and excited that there's gonna be a women's retreat this spring on April 22nd. Mark it down.
Oh, there's save the dates in the back.
Where are we at in our count?
I don't care. Keep going. People keep raising their hand.
I would like to say a big old thank you to Pastor Molly and recognize her leadership. So, thank you.
I'd like to thank all the open, honest communication today.
100%.
Shared on lots of different levels, of different opinions, and we're honest and we gotta keep going.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have one. This is from Nora and Swede. Swede and I would like to thank all the people that have helped with funerals and will continue to help.
Also, as a member of the finance committee, we have a letter that's going out here probably on Monday that details a lot of this information that we had.
included with it is also a promise card, which in the past, we've had very poor response of getting them back, maybe 10, 15% of them. So a lot of the numbers that we use to make the budget, we're going by past histories. And we know that life has changed for a lot of people, some for the better, some for the worse. So if you could at least put down what you think you could contribute this year, it'll give us a good ability to find out how close we are, how big a leap of faith, as Axel used to say, that we need to take.
You have to come closer to this though.
Okay, I also want to say thank you to Jenny for doing such a wonderful job on the flower arrangement at Christmas time and Easter. Yeah.
I'm going to just echo what you said, Jenny, about Molly, Pastor Molly. We called her to faithfully administer the word and sacraments. And I have to give you a lot of kudos for doing exactly that. That's the biggest reason why you're here. And every Sunday, I'm inspired by what you have to say and how you bring the word to life in our community. So thank you.
We're standing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I know, I wanted the affirmations, but not,
Same here, Susan.
oh, for the good of St. Mark. Thank you. I'm gonna close this in prayer and then you guys,
We have a motion to close the meeting.
I can't do that. You have to, come here. I was gonna have to.
Any more affirmations? Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay. We're up and over. Okay, now we're gonna close in devotions and prayer, or just a prayer.
I don't have a second.
On there.
Prayer. I'm gonna do a prayer and then I'm gonna send you out with a blessing. Gracious God. Thank you for moments of honesty and vulnerability and opportunity to speak our truth and express our concern and deep compassion of this place. Thank you for those who used a microphone today and spoke on behalf of all of us. Thank you for opening our ears and our hearts to receive what we heard and felt and saw. And I just ask that you continue to guide us in these next few weeks as we prepare to meet again for our plan for ministry vote. To give ourselves patience and grace in that process. And to see what we are capable of in the months to come. So continue to bless each person. Continue to bless each family, each church that is continuing to do your work in very difficult times, knowing that there are beautiful moments where you are acting diligently. We thank you. Amen.
Amen.
Go in peace and make good choices.
Well.
We will. Thanks, everyone. I don't know how to stop recording.